Hi, welcome to this Kickstarter preview video for Microcosmos. This is a small game, actually it's a big game in a small box. It's from the designer who brought to us MicroCity. Among other games, this the company has made tremendous progress in lots and lots of great designs, but their specialty are micro games, and this is their new installment. They're going to run a crowdfunding campaign for the game. I'm going to include the link in the description of the video below. So what is Microcosmos? In a nutshell, if I was going to describe to someone Microcosmos, I would say this is the game that Tiny Epic series would want to have for their portfolio, but they don't. This belongs to another company. This is a game that could easily fall under the Gamelin series for Tiny Epic games. So it could be Tiny Epic Cosmos, it doesn't matter. This is Microcosmos. I'm only mentioning this not to hype another company, but just to give you the insight and the feeling of the game, because most of us know what Tiny Epic series is and what the values that it shares. So you can find same values in this micro game. And what I really enjoyed about the game is how much punch, how much power it has under the hood. It's in a small box, and that's why you can see I love micro games, and I especially enjoyed MicroCity as well. But this one is, I think, on a whole new level. So the game here has to deal with, I would say, arks, big spaceships that are trying to reform and restructure the universe after a galactic war that devastated planets and left chaos behind. Players are commanders of such huge vessels that are trying to move around the cosmos, trying to gather resources from different planets and terraform them in order to make them again habitable. So the game has a lot of cool mechanics like pick up and deliver, chaining, hand management. Resource management is really nice on this game. The card play is extremely sharp and focused, and lots of tiny different things that they blend together in a very, very simple design. The rules are very simple of the game, but the depth of the game is really nice. So I would say this game also scores points in the category of easy to learn, hard to master, with a lot of options and replayability type of games. The theme is unique. Players are trying to terraform planets. Actually, one of the triggers for the end of the game is when when the players collectively terraform the third planet, then we play one more round and the game ends. Or if we're playing a 4-player game, that level rises to 4 planets fully terraformed. You can also have a solo, and I'm looking forward to play the solo as well and enjoy it with Otoma. But the game really manages to compact all the essence of bigger, I would say, and more grandiose games on a tiny box, but without any discount on anything that you would expect. And this is, I would say, the beauty of micro, tiny, small, pocket, whatever type of games, that they hide the whole game under the hood, and this is no exception. So the theme is nice. I really like the theme. It's very, very keen to me, sci-fi, but it also would appeal to other players if they don't fancy sci-fi games, but it really blends well with me, and I really enjoy it. What I really enjoyed about the game is the cool mechanics and the way the gameplay is crafted. So as I would explain the rules further in the video, and I will show you how the game plays in detail, you have to keep in mind that there are tiny things that really make this game sparkle. And one of those things are the card play. The crew cards of the game have 6 slots on the player board, which actually is compiled by 3 cards. The Ark card itself, which has different upgrades, the cockpit and the cargo hold. The cargo hold has 6 slots, 3 above and 3 below, and the crew cards are dual. They have a lower part and an upper part, and an icon in the middle. So the lower part is activated if you activate a card that is touching the bottom of your crew card, and you match the color with the planet that you're visiting, then you can activate it for this action. If you match the color of the bottom of the card that's touching again your cargo hold from the top row, then you activate that card and then you discard it. So it has cool things like that you have to manage your crew. You only have 6 crew cards. You can, and definitely should, upgrade your Ark, because upgrades are very important, because not only you unlock upgrades which makes you much more efficient and functional, but also it releases colony tokens that you need to place on the board. Gathering resources is one aspect of the game, and spending resources is really cool, because that lets you terraform higher levels on the different planets and score victory points and there is also a race to do the most terraforming points on each planet because you get +3 victory points, so this is cool as well. The different technologies are unique. I really enjoyed how they give the edge. If you combine specific different types of upgrades, you will gain victory points at the end of the game from many things, from colonies you have placed, from survivors that you have settled, from points you have accumulated throughout the game, and very other aspects. But overall, I think I'm rushing to give you all the details, but let me explain you how the game plays, and let me show you how the game plays, and I'll come back at the end of this video to tell you why this is a game that you should definitely have in your library. I'm really glad that I can keep this prototype and play it until the final production copy is out. That much I like this game. So I hope you enjoy this explanatory video. Let me show you how the game plays, and I'll come back at the end of this video for some final thoughts. As usual, you'll find the link in the description of the video for the crowdfunding campaign, where you can visit the campaign, which is launching as we speak very, very soon. So let's see how the game plays. The Great War ended. The last Voltarian fleet has been destroyed and the remnants of their forces have scattered into the unknown sectors. This is a moment to celebrate and take a deep breath of relief after years of constant conflict. Unfortunately, not all can find joy in these difficult times. Hundreds of worlds lay in ruins as the Voltarian weaponry left whole planets in critical state. Ravaged landscapes, demolished cities, and civilizations wiped out of almost entirely is the final result. Subsequently, billions sought refuge on other planets in hope of returning to their abandoned homes. A newly formed unison called the Galactic Alliance took upon itself to fix the damage caused by the Great War and bring back the damaged planets into habitable state and provide, of course, a home for various species spread across the galaxy. In order to aid this process, the Galactic Alliance ordered the construction of interplanetary terraforming arks, ITAs. These colossal spaceships have been sent out into various sectors in order to gather resources and use advanced geoengineering techniques, bring back life into worlds destroyed by the Great War, and create habitable places again. It is your duty as the main commander of one of those arks to terraform as many worlds as possible and scout the desolate planets in search of survivors. Gather resources, command your leaders and specialists, create colonies and develop technologies which will help you with your mission. Make your mark in the galaxy's history as the terraformer of worlds and saver of civilizations. So what is the aim of the game Microcosmos? Players travel the galaxy, discover new planets, make them habitable, gather resources, create colonies and trading outposts. Also they settle survivors of the Great War on new planets, and they aim to make these planets their new homes for the survivors. Terraforming planets and settling survivors gives players victory points. After fully terraforming a specific number of planets, the game is over and the player with the most victory points wins the game. Let's familiarize ourselves with the components of the game. We have the canteen board, which is over there. We have 16 planetary cards. We have the starting ones already ready for setup, and there is a pile of cards here. Just briefly to show you, since the grid goes by 3 by 3, you have a huge variety of planetary cards with different amount of requirements for terraforming and possibilities as well. So this is really nice. We also have 39 crew cards. We have 15 survivor cards. There are also some cards for the solo mode. We have 4 R cards, and the R cards, just to show you, this is an R card already populated for setup, but this is how the R cards look like. We also have 4 bridge cards. This is my bridge card with my specific commander. And an advice to the designer, the game is really nice. I found it amazing and I really enjoyed it, but just as an idea, they may give variable player powers to the commanders or make it as an expansion. That will be really great. So, not that the game is lacking, of course, but just as an idea to the designer. So this is, we have 4 bridge cards, and then we also have 4 cargo hold cards, which have this anatomy. So essentially you see the cargo, the ark and the bridge of one player. So this is the setup of one player over here, and this is where we're going to expand. You also have 12 leader tokens, 4 in each color, which you will use. You have also 4 engineer tokens. These are the engineer tokens. The leader tokens are the ones that you find. I think I have them somewhere else. You also have 48 resource markers, 12 in each of the colors. These are the resource markers that you find. We're going to explain them later on. They come in 4 categories. You also have, actually let's go through them now. You have the red, which is the mineral. This is a marker for my resource, for the specific resource, but the cube is the actual resource itself. So this is the mineral. You also have the orange, which is the workforce, the blue, which is technology, and the green, which is biomatter. You have 4 arc markers. These are these huge spaceships that they go around trying to terraform planets. You have 4 point markers. You have also 32 terraforming markers, 8 in each of the player's color. These are these discs in this prototype. Keep in mind that this is a prototype. It looks very, very nice, but it's still a prototype. You have 32 colony markers. Again, 8 in each color. These look like that. Maybe they are upgraded or something during the Kickstarter. And each player also has 2 trading outposts for a total of 8, 2 in each color. And we're going to have also 1 first player marker as well. So let's go through the setup to see how the game starts before gameplay. Each player takes 1 arc, 1 bridge, and 1 cargo card. And each player takes the following components in their color of their choice. You have the arc marker, you have the 8 terraforming markers, you have the 8 colony markers that I just showed you, and you also have the point marker that you see over there, and the trading post as well. Each player places them in the player area. You place the point marker on spot actually outside the board, or it could be spot 0 if they reconstruct the board. This is a VP board going around, a VP track going around the board, the canteen main board. You also place your trading outpost markers on your arc. I'm going to go through the setup on details, but these go, you see the colonies, they have a specific green marker that they go onto. And you need to upgrade your arc to buy those resources in order to place them in your available spot, and then use them to place them on the board. And you also have those 2 trading markers, which you get access to if you do both upgrades in the column, and then you get access to the trading post. You place them on your respective player board as you see here. So this is a spot for respectively terraforming marker, and this is colony marker, and this is a spot for trade outpost. So trade outpost here and here we have 2, and all these spots, 4 on the top and 4 on the bottom, are spots for the colonies. I'm going to explain them later on. You take 4 resource markers in different colors and place them on spot 0 on the respective tracks. You see, these are the cargo holds that you have and the respective tracks there for each of the resource. You take 4 specialist tokens, 1 engineer and 3 leaders, 1 of each color, and you place them on your cargo card on spots that they are marked with this green light. For this prototype they're all white, but you can have, suppose, on the final production different colors. They all go there. You take the star portal card, which is this one. This is a star portal, and you place it in the center of the main board. Then from the planet card stack you find the ones that they say starting planets, green start, red start and blue start, and you place them in a way. You take those 3 cards marking starting and you place them randomly around the start portal, 1 to the left, 1 to the right, and 1 above the star portal. You shuffle the remaining planet cards and you place them there. You'll be drawing from the bottom of this deck when you explore new planetary systems. You shuffle the 15 survivor cards and place them nearby. You also shuffle the 39 crew cards and place them face down next to the canteen board. And you take 3 crew cards and place them face up on the canteen board. So these are going to be 1, 2, and 3 here respectively. Each player also takes 3 crew cards, and each player discards one of the 3 and places the remaining 2 above or below their cargo card. So let's say I got those 3 cards in my hand. I will check them. I will explain how these work. It has to do with the positioning of the active side. So if I put it like that, this side is active. If I put it like that, the top card is the top side is active. So let's say, for the benefit of example, I placed all 2 of them there, and then I discard one. So I should be making a respective discard pile for each of those decks. This is the Automa deck, by the way. And then once this is done, each player takes 2 resources of their choice. They can be 2 of the same. So you move the resource marker the appropriate number of spots. So let's say for my case, I would take 1 red. So it starts with 0, 1 red, and 1 green. 1 biomass and 1 mineral, that is, respectively. You pick up the starting player and give them the first player marker, and you're ready to begin the game. So let's move to gameplay. The game lasts a series of rounds. On each round, starting with the first player, every player carries out their turn. After all players have carried out their turns, the first player passes the first player marker to the player on the left, and the new round begins. If on their turn a player fully terraforms a 3rd planet of a system, or a 4th in a 4-player game, the current round needs to be finished, and 1 more full round will take place, and after which the game is over and players sum up their victory points. The player with the most victory points is, of course, the winner. Player's turn. On their turn, players perform the specific steps in order. First, Ark Upgrade, which is optional. Second, Space Travel. Third, play crew cards. Fourth, Destination Actions. Action, actually, or actions, depending on the upgrades. And the 5th, Obtain crew card. So let's have a quick look on this, but before we do so, let's discuss about obtaining and spending resources. The cargo card, which is the one here, as you can see, has 4 resource tracks. Biomatter on the top, workforce, minerals, and technology. Whenever you obtain a resource, you move its marker the appropriate number of spots. Let's say I got 2 mineral, I will move it from 1, 2, 3. That means that if I subsequently spend a resource, I move its marker the appropriate number of spots to the left of that resource track. So if I spend 2, I would move it 2 backwards. A player can never have less than 0 units of any resource, and at the beginning, players cannot have more than 4. You see, there are white numbers all the way up to the 4 for each of the 4 tracks. During the game, players can unlock the cargo upgrade, which is over here, and when that is done, each respective track increases its capacity from 4 to 6. That's why the 5 number and the 6 number for each of the tracks is colored, as you can see. Specialists. There are 4 types of specialists in the game. You have the engineer, which icon of the engineer is, let me find in the crew member. This is the icon of the engineer. And then you have, respectively, the leaders, which have a different color and this symbol. If you see this symbol white, that means any leader. And if you have a leader matching a planet, you see the leader with this respective color. This is a green leader, for example. So, let's move now into the steps of each player's turn and see how these work before going into the details. So, let's start with the details. The Ark Upgrade. At the beginning of their turn, a player can upgrade their Ark. Let's go closer to have a look. You can see that this is a duplicate of this card. This is just populated for setup, and this is an empty card of the Ark. So these 8 upgrades are available on the Ark card, and each of them gives a specific bonus. In order to unlock an upgrade card, the player must use a specific specialist depending on the upgrade, so the top upgrade or the bottom one. You see, the top one or the bottom one. Let's say I want to do this upgrade. I need to do a specific specialist, in this case any leader, because it's white, and I also have to pay any given number of resources as depicted there. So I need to give one workforce resource from my cargo, meaning moving it to the left. Therefore, in order to unlock an upgrade, the player must use the specialist specified, engineer or leader of any color, if it's white, and spend a given number of resources as depicted on the respective upgrade. After paying the cost, let's say I paid any leader and one workforce, I take the colony, because I chose to do this upgrade or because I can start with another upgrade, and put it next to my player board on my bridge, making it available, meaning that now I can use it, it's available. If it's on there, if I haven't done the upgrade, I cannot use it as a colony. Colony tokens from the upgrade spot are placed on the available pool, and the player has access to this upgrade from this moment on. Let's have a closer look on the respective upgrades, and you can focus on these ones here. Let me move that a bit lower so you can see the title. So I'm going to start to describe those upgrades. They're the same over here. So first of all, we have the Robotics, which is this one over here. Once you do it, you unlock this colony. Robotics cost 1 engineer and 2 technology, and the player can perform up to 2 different destination actions on a planet where they have a colony token. So it gives you 2 actions if you have a colony token on that planet. Biodome, which is the next one on the left. This one costs 1 engineer and 2 biomatter. Every time a player arrives at a space station, they gain 1 workforce. This is a benefit, it's an ability essentially. Then you have the space mining. This costs 1 engineer and 2 minerals. And the ability you have is every time a player arrives on the moon, they gain 1 mineral. Cool. Then you have the cargo. It costs 1 engineer and 2 minerals. 1 engineer and 1 workforce. And the capacity of the cargo is increased from 4 to 6, so it's increased by 2. From this point, the player's Ark can hold a maximum of 6 resources of each type. Very, very useful. Then you have the scout vehicles at the bottom. They cost 1 engineer and 1 workforce, and every time a player performs the explore action, they draw 2 cards instead of 1. They pick one and resolve it as normal and discard the second one, so they have better options. Then you have this one, which is the leisure facilities. They cost 1 engineer and 2 workforce. Every time a player arrives at the space station, they gain 1 crew from the canteen, which is really nice. And you see what you're going to get because you have a selection of 3. Mining vehicles, which is this one, cost 1 engineer and 2 biomatter. Every time a player arrives at the moon, they gain 1 crew card from the canteen. Then you have the engines. They work a little bit different because here it's the only upgrade which it starts on the level 2, and when you do the upgrade you put it there on the second step, so you move 4. When you do it a third time, actually it starts on 2. When you do the first upgrade you move it here and then you can move 4. When you do the second upgrade you move it here and you can do an upgrade and move of 6. So this is the only upgrade that has 3 steps essentially. When the player pays for the first time, they move the colony token to the 4th spot. From this point on, then they have 4 spaces during the space travel. After that they pay for the second upgrade and they move it to the 6th. So it starts from here. The first move is here, the first upgrade, and you move 4. The second upgrade is there, you move 6 when you do the space travel. And the third time you upgrade it, you simply take it and you put it next to your available. So now you have another additional token of colony. When players remove colony tokens from upgrades opposite each other, let's say I removed this one, I did this upgrade, and I also removed the one on the top, so the one on the column. That means that now they gain a trading post token and place it in their pool. So this now becomes available immediately, and I also gain 1 trading token. I can have up to 2 trading tokens, but for the second one I need to also upgrade leisure facilities and biodome. So the second action is space travel. On each turn the player must move their Ark. At first they can move up to 2 galaxy routes, but thanks to the engine's upgrade they can increase it to 4 or even 6 routes respectively. Moving through one route means moving the Ark along the dotted line to the next spot. A player can never move through the same route on their turn twice, and they can never end on the spot where they started. Players move through but cannot finish their travel on the spot where the other player's Ark exists. The exception to this is the planets, which they can hold any number of Arks because they are very, very big. of course, and there is enough room for any number of arcs. When a player finishes their travel on a planet with a trading post on it, their owner gains resources visible on the top of the planetary part of the card. So if there is a trading token there, the trading outpost, then the owner of the trading outpost gains the resources available on the top of the planet. When I mean top, you see, I'm referring to this one, a bio mass for this case. What happens when you discover? So if I wanted to move the green one over there, that means I start from here. I can move 1, following the dotted line, and 2, going to the space station. It will be another movement to go from that dotted line there, or I can stop to these asteroids, which counts as a movement point, and then I can explore respectively. So how you discover? Moving along a dotted line to the edge of a card, the player can discover a new planet. When doing so, they pick a card from the bottom of the planet card deck and they place it along the edge so that they just crossed and place the arc on the newly discovered planet. So let's say I'm here and I want to discover there. I would move, actually, let's say I was here on this moon and I want to discover a new planet here. I move from this one over, no, I should be here in order to discover this one for 2 movement points. Let's say I have 2 movement points only. So with 1 movement point I come here, and with the second movement point I go there. When doing so, I take the pile of planet cards, I take the one from the bottom and place it from this side, the non-terraformed one, because this is the terraformed side, I place it here connecting to the grid. When I do so, I immediately place my arc on the planet itself automatically. An important note is that the planetary system can consist of a maximum of 9 planets, 3 rows of 3 cards, and players can never move in a direction that would go outside these bounds. After discovering all 9 cards, further expansion is not possible. Now, since we just discovered the planet, let's go and focus on that. After discovering a new planet, the player receives a bonus. They increase the terraforming level of that planet by 1, they pick their token, and they place it on the terraforming level 1. You see there is a tracker on top of each of those cards, which actually translates in victory points as well. And they also pick a resource marker of their choice and place it on spot 1 from the ones available on the resource tracks. So you have minerals, biomass, and workforce. Let's say I chose workforce. I would place it there. So I have, I do the first level. So essentially we start terraforming the planet, but I will come back to the terraforming action because it's a crucial part of this game and it's really, really cool. The third step is playing crew cards. Players have a maximum of 6 crew cards in play at any given time, and the slots for those are 3 on the top of the cargo board and 3 on the bottom. So these are slots, 3 there and 3 there. Obtained cards are immediately placed face up in 2 rows, upper above the cargo card or lower below the cargo card. Each of these, for example, if I just took, let's say, one, I would need to choose to put it either there or there. So let's say I did it like that. On their turn, a player may play, so each of these rows holds up to 3 cards for a total of 6 crew cards, as I said. And each of those crew cards has a crucial row. On their turn, a player may play up to 2 crew cards, and if they're playing a card from their lower row, they can either activate it and discard it, or move it to the upper row as one of the 2 activations. If they're playing a card from the upper row, they will activate it and discard it. The active side is the one touching the cargo hold. So for this card, the active one is the top part. For this card, the active part is the bottom part. This is important and we need to keep track of that. Keep in mind that the same card can be played twice on their same turn by first moving it to the upper row on the same turn as one of the 2 activations, and then by later having it discard, activating it and discarding it. If the color of the edge of the card at play matches the color of the destination the player is on, his or her arc respectively, they can perform that part of the crew card action. Crew card action allows players to obtain resources, gain crew cards, or trade in resources for other resources or cards. So for example, we're going to explain them, but keep in mind that if the player has this card touching this side of his cargo card. If they choose as one of the two activations they have, they activate it for the one touching the cargo. So that means that this activates, and if the color matches the destination of the ark the player is, let's say they went on the blue planet, then they can activate it and perform the action, which means they will gain two resources, one technology and one biomass. If the player was here and they were activating this card, then they would gain, and their destination was red planet, they would gain one biomass. They would actually give one biomass in order to gain two crew cards. Okay, so you see you have different possibilities and different options, so this is really nice. So let's see a quick example. So let's say this hypothetical scenario, the player finished a space traveler on a green planet. They can now play up to two crew cards. They could play the card from the upper row, which edge is touching the cargo card, and perform the action. Unfortunately, if they do so, let's say that, for example, they had 3 biomass, 2 workforce, 2 mineral, and 2 technology. So if they would do that, they do not have the cargo upgrade yet, supposedly, and that means that they would obtain only one of the biomatters, because you see, they would gain 2 if they played this one because they reached a green planet. They would gain 2, but their cap is full. They need to upgrade to the cargo hold upgrade in order to have 6. So it will be a waste of that. The edge of this card is, so they decide to play this card respectively. The edge of this card is red, so they do not perform the card's action. Instead, they simply move it to the upper row. So they would do that. And as a second activation, now the bottom part matches the green planet that the Ark has reached to, and that means that when they play, they can activate it. They can spend one technology in order to gain 2 workforce and 1 mineral, plus 1 crew card that they can draw and place immediately. And then when they do that, this card, of course, since it was activated, it will go out. Note that if a player finishes their travel on a star portal, which is this one, then they can play only 1 crew card, but they may use any of the crew card actions that they are touching the cargo card, regardless of their color. The fourth option is destination action. The fourth step is destination actions. Depending on where the Ark finished its movement, the player may perform 1 or more actions on that destination. So let's say they finished on a planet like this one. Each planet, regardless of its color, allows the player to perform one of the 6 actions. A. Gather resources. B. Terraform. C. Scout. D. Settle. E. Create colony. F. Create trading outpost. We're going to explain them later on. If a player already unlocked the robotics upgrade on their spaceship and has a colony of that planet, they may perform 2 different actions instead of 1. You can also have units finishing their turn, let's say, on either moons, or let's say on respective star portal or space stations. So this is a space station, this is a moon, and it could be also a star portal. The star portal, as well as each moon and space station, allows the player to perform both of the available actions. So A. Gather resources, and B. Gain crew cards. Asteroids, which are like this blue dot here, they only stop you along your way to your destination, and they do not provide any actions. Gather resources. Resources the player may gather as a result of their action are shown on the upper part of a planet, beside the moon or a space station, or inside the star portal. Players mark the gathered resources on the respective tracks on the cargo card, and any excess resources are lost, of course. When gaining crew cards, a player may only draw up to the limit of 6. So, for example, if I'm on this planet and I want to gather resources, the resource I'll gather from this planet is on the top of the planet. This is a technology. While on this planet, if I want to gather resources as an action, the resource is workforce, respectively biomass, or you can have minerals, etc. You can also gather resources on moon locations. The moon icon is this one, and it gives 2 resources, biomass and mineral, or 2 mineral, or any other combination. You can also have, for example, here, you can have on this space station workforce, which means I increase my workforce on my cargo card, and in addition to that I also draw one crew card. This is the icon for the crew card. Another important action that you can do when your destination is a planet is Terraform. This action allows the player to increase the planet's resource levels that you can see over there on those respective tracks on the bottom right corner. These levels, in order to do that, you spend resources from your cargo. So you spend resources from your cargo accordingly in order to increase those respective resource levels towards the terraforming of that planet. These levels are indicated by resource tracks on the planet card, and when increasing a level, spending the respective resource to increase the respective resource level, terraforming level on the planet. For the first time, you take a resource marker of the corresponding color and you simply place it on the base icon of that track. Subsequent increasing of that resource means moving the marker up on the resource track up to its maximum level. At the beginning, players can raise the resource level on a planet by two different resources by one, or one resource level by 2 steps. One resource track and type. Each colony and trade outpost belonging to a player increase the amount by 1. For example, as we are now, if I didn't have any colonies anywhere, I would be able to increase only 2, either 1 and 1, 2, or if those tracks were lower, I could do mineral from here all the way to 3, from 1, 2, 3. The first step, if it doesn't have any cube, would be, for example, if I had 2 levels to 2 terraforming Mars ratio, I would put 1, gain 1 VP, and 2, gain second VP by moving my marker there. But let's assume that this player has on various, just putting at the side so it shows, but they should be on planets themselves. Let's say I have, for example, different types of different colonies and a trading post. Let's say I have a trading post on this planet, a colony on that planet, and a colony on that planet. Okay, they don't have to be on the same planet, they have to be anywhere on the board. So then my terraforming ratio would be increased by 1 for each colony and trading post, outpost, anywhere on the planetary system. So in this case I would have 2 from the Ark, 3, 4, 5, because these are all the colonies and trading post, outposts that I have on the whole map board. That means I would have 5 steps to terraform. I don't need to do all the maximum capacity of my potential terraforming, but if I don't have enough resources, for example, but for each step I need to spend resources from my cargo dock, from my spaceship, from my Ark. Otherwise, if I don't have, for example, the necessary resources to spend in order to increase those tracks, I won't be able to do as much terraforming as I could potentially do. Keep in mind that every time a player terraforms a planet, they increase their level of merit in that process. After increasing the planet resources for the first time, the player needs to place their terraforming marker on the planetary terraforming track on the spot equal to the number of levels that planet resources have been increased during the action. After subsequent terraforming action that the players may take, the player's marker needs to move further to the right. More than one marker may be seated on the same spot, and the markers that are placed on top of each other. The player whose marker is on top is considered to be the one whose merits is making the planet habitable more, so they are further in the track. So in this case, the yellow player is on the 3 spot. They're going to get 3 victory points when the terraforming is full, when all these resources max out on their tracks. The black and the purple player are on level 2. That means that this is heading ahead, then second is the purple, and then the third is the black beneath. The active player moves their terraforming marker in each time they terraform a number of spots equal to the amount of planet resources they increased during this action. And further increasing is impossible even if that player hasn't used the terraforming to the fullest. So if you have additional terraforming points to spend and you have maxed out all those cubes to the highest point of their respective tracks moving upwards, then you just forfeit the rest of your terraforming points, because it's the maximum you can do. In each planet card, the total of resources needed for terraforming are 10. You just find it in different ratios between the different type of resources needed in order to terraform the planet. And that's why the maximum victory points you can get if a single player terraforms the whole planet by themselves, they're going to get 10 victory points. So for this example, the yellow player performs the terraforming action on the red planet. They have a total of 2 colonies and 1 trading post in the whole planetary system, and during one action they could potentially increase the planet resources by 5, but this planet only requires a 2-to-1 biomatter and 1 technology. So 2 biomatter and 1 technology. Sorry, two in total resources, meaning, let's say that this was here, like in my previous example. So that will mean I need 1 additional biomass and 1 additional technology. So I need, even if I have 5 terraforming possibility, as due to the additional colonies and trade post, I can only do 2. So then I max out those tracks. So that means that the player increases his levels to their maximum value and moves their marker on the terraforming track by 2 spots because they spent 2 resources. So from 4 I will go to 6. The marker is the furthest on the right of the track. That means that they receive a total of 9 victory points. That is, since they got 2 for these points, they have a total of, they're going to get a total of 6 because they're sitting on 6. Since they are the one on the further to the right, they're going to get the highest number of victory points. So 6 plus 3, that's a total of 9 victory points. The rest of the players, they're going to get, the purple who is second because it's on top is going to get 2 because they're sitting on the 2 position, 2 victory points plus 1, 3, and the black players, they're going to get only 2 victory points. So when you terraform fully a planet, meaning that you move all those resources all the way up, the steps that you follow are the following. Players that help terraform the planet receive victory points equal to the spot they are on the terraforming track. The player whose marker is furthest on the terraforming track receives 3 victory points, and the player who's on second receives 1 victory point, and all resource markers are to be placed back to the marker pool, and terraforming markers are retrieved by their owners. Players remove all remaining markers and tokens from the planet card. The arcs, colonies, and trading outposts are returned to the opposite respective position on the terraformed final state of the planet. So simply you flip the card and you put it back on their spots. Note that the terraformed planet provides extra resources. Now it's visible on the top of the card. I'm going to show you just in a sec. And during the gather resources action, you can settle it also by survivors. So what I would do now is, after awarding the victory points on the canteen track, people will track their victory points with those victory point markers. I will take those cubes, return them to the supply. I will return those terraforming markers back to the players, original stock or pool, whatever. And then I'm going to take this card, flip it to the terraform card, which is this one. And as you can see, it doesn't have any tracks. And now when you do the gather resources action, you take 2 resources on the top of the card, 1 technology plus 1 workforce. It's also visible on the bottom of the previous phase, what it's going to get once you do the terraforming. The Ark returns in its original space, and let's say, for example, if you had any outposts, let's say there was an outpost by the purple player, it's going to go on the original spot. If the players had additional markers, like, I don't know, colonies or anything else in the previous state, you would also put it on the corresponding flipped size of the card. Another possible action you can do on a planet is settle. If a planet Ark lands on a terraformed planet like this one, it needs to be terraformed, matching the color of the survivor card in their play area, they may perform the settle action by playing that card and moving it face down to a separate pile in their play area. Only 1 survivor card can be settled during one action, but each terraformed planet may be settled multiple times during the subsequent turns. And during endgame scoring, players gain extra victory points for the number of survivors that they have settled onto new planets, which are, of course, terraformed. But in order to do the settle, of course, you need to have survivors, which are these cards, which you obtain from another action, which is Scout. Let's see how Scout works right away. So scout. To perform this action, a player needs to use a leader in the color of the planet they wish to scout. Then they draw one card from the top of the survivor deck and gain resources visible to the top of the card. If the color of the background matches the color of the planet the player's ark is present on, they can take that card and place it in the play area, below their bridge. This is a bridge. Keep in mind that at any given time a player may have a maximum of 3 survivor cards, and that's why you have 3 slots at the bottom of your bridge for potential carrying of survivors. And after reaching that limit they may still perform the scout action, but they won't be able to take that card until they free up a slot by performing the settle action. If a player cannot or does not want to take the survivor card, it needs to be placed face up onto the discard pile, and whenever players need to draw a survivor card and a survivor card deck is depleted, you shuffle it and you make a new deck. If a player unlocked the scouting vehicles upgrade, they may draw 2 survivor cards at this stage, keep one and resolve it according to the rules, and return the other one. This is giving the player more possibilities to match the color of the survivor with the planet they're visiting, so they can keep it. So basically what would happen is, to perform this action the player needs to use a leader. So I'm visiting, let's say for example, doesn't need to be the same or terraformed. Let's say I'm here, I'm visiting this planet, and I need to match the color of the planet with the card that I have. I have a leader with a blue color. I remind you, this is the icon of the leader. The white one is the engineer. So I can I can use the leader in a color of the planet I wish to scout. And then I draw one card from the top of the survivor deck, which is this one, and I take the resources shown here. So here it shows 2 random resources, but another card, for example, okay, this is the same. I can gain, for example, 2 mineral. Okay, now if the card that I drew has the same color background, I believe it's background. Yeah, if the card has the same, that's a good question. Oh, you can see the the color of the card is now that I'm looking at it, because I have been I have been reading the card with the background, because this is the planet, so I think I was doing it right. Yeah. So if the color card matches the color of the background, it's stated clearly in the rulebook. If the color of the background, so doing it correctly, matches the planet, in this case it's blue, so it matches the blue planet, then I can keep this card. So I'm keeping it here as carrying it in my bridge. I can have a maximum of 3 such cards. These are potential survivors, and in order to do the settle, then for example, if in another turn I would move here, I could do a settle because I have a red card matching the terraformed planet. Then I will flip it, keep it next to me, and at the end of the game I will gain cards for 1 5 points, for 2 12, and so on, as depicted on the canteen board. Another option is to create a colony. In order to perform this action, the player must have a colony marker in their pool, so I need to have it here. So I cannot drop a colony if I don't have it available, which means I should have unlocked it from the upgrades. The first colony costs an engineer, as shown here on my player board, on my bridge, plus a leader of any type. That's why it's white. Then the second one would cost 1 engineer, 1 resource of my choice, and 1 leader of my choice, any type. But you see, as you move further down, the 8th colony would cost 1 leader of any type, 2 leaders matching the color of the planet I'm going to install the colony, that's why it has this symbol, 1 engineer, and 5 resources of any type. So it becomes more and more expensive to create colonies as you move along, because of course, as you can imagine, they give up to 45 victory points if you put them all 8 of them on the board. So in general, after paying the cost, the player takes a colony marker from the pool and places it on the planet. Creating a colony not only increases the effectiveness of the terraform action, but also because it gives you more terraforming points to spend, but also it gives you victory points at the end of the game, based on the number of colonies you created. If a player unlocked the Robotics upgrade, they can perform another action right after creating a colony on a planet. Next option on a planet is to create a trading post. The player places a trading post if they have it unlocked, because they need to have, I remind you, I need to have this one available, and I get it if I do both two colonies upgrades on, and I'm making the colony tokens available, or both two. I don't need to install the colonies, I just need to make them available. So a player takes a trading outpost marker, gained after unlocking a pair of upgrades, and places it on the planet. If both of the player's trading outpost markers are placed on the planets, performing this action means moving any one of the trading outposts and placing it on a planet the player is currently on. And every time a player creates a new trading outpost or moves it with a different location, they gain 2 victory points. And they mark it, of course, on this victory point track, moving this victory point marker accordingly. From this point on, whenever any player's Ark arrives on a planet with a trading outpost, its owner receives a resource shown on the upper part of the planet. So if, for example, I have created a colony here, let's say I'm somewhere else, and this white player reaches this planet, then both the yellow and the purple player will gain the resources on the top of the planet, whether it's terraformed or non-terraformed. Last option is to gain a specialist token. Moons, space stations, and the star portal allow players to discard one of their crew cards and gain 1 specialist token on the cargo by moving it to the spot marked with red. Then, when discarding a card with an engineer symbol, the player gains a leader token of their choice, and when discarding a card with any leader, the player gains an engineer token. So for example, I would move, essentially this moves, the red visible means that they are unavailable, but if I make it available by discarding a crew card of this choice, I would install it and I would make it permanently available. A specialist from the cargo card can be used in the same way as the crew card with that symbol, but it doesn't count towards the crew card limit. So you see, I have it available to use. The last step, the 5th step that I do during my turn is gaining 1 crew card. At the end of the turn, a player can draw 1 card from the top of the crew deck, from here, not from here. And if they don't go over the 6 card limits, they can do so and place it on an open slot that they have on their board, either the upper or the lower part of their slots. If the crew card deck is empty, you shuffle it and you discard, and with the discard pile you shuffle it and you make a new deck. The end of the game and the final scoring. Whenever any player fully terraforms a 3rd planet in the planetary system or a 4th planet in a 4-player game, we finish the given round and play 1 more full round. After that, the game ends and players move to the final scoring. Apart from victory points gained during the game, whatever victory points you have accumulated here, players add points for the number of colonies, survivors settled, and points from terraforming tracks on all planets that they haven't fully terraformed. The position of the player's terraforming markers is equal to the number of victory points. So for colonies, you can get all the way up to 45. All the way up to 45 if you have all 8 colonies on the board, but it's expensive to put the 7th, the 8th, etc. For survivors or settlers that you have face down on your card through the settle action, you can get all the way up to 40 victory points if you have 5 survivors. You gain also the victory points that you have from uncompleted terraformed slots that you have progressed but not fully terraformed, and the additional points that you have accumulated, and the player with the most victory points is the winner. In case of a tie, the player with more resources in their cargo is the winner, and if there's still a tie, all players tying share the victory. So the game has also solo mode, which is explained in the rulebook, with automa actions and difficulty levels, so this is really interesting. And there you have it. This is all you need to know on how to play Microcosmos. Wow, what a gem. I really enjoy small, compact games that deliver a full, complete gameplay experience. And this is not only it falls under this category, I think it excels and shines in this category. So that makes it even better than some other smaller compact games. I'm not going to put it you know, on a list and say which it bypasses and by far how much it bypasses those games, but I'm going to say that people who enjoy compact games that have a lot of replayability, that have simple rules, that has a lot of depth, that have solo automa, that I'm out of fingers, that have crunchy, meaningful decisions to make throughout your course of your session, and they deliver it on a small compact box, they would love this box. I really enjoyed my time with it. I'm looking forward to finish this video to start another session. That much I enjoyed the game. The automa option is really nice, and it's always good to be able to play those games also as a solo with an automa, with different types of difficulties. Lots of racing around the galaxy, trying to get all these colonies out, trying to settle survivors and trying to gather victory points in a smooth, neat and very slick way, I would add. This game really checks all the boxes for me, and it's a game that I would easily pick and put in my backpack when I'm going for a couple of days out and I have a limited space, but I want to have a meaningful full game that I can potentially play on my own if I don't find people to get them to sit on the board, or I can share with my fellow gamers or fellow casual gamers, but also experienced gamers, and enjoy it around. So I think I would highly recommend this game, not only to players who enjoy small compact games, micro games, if you want to put it in this category, but also to players who want to have a nice meaty game with a lot of I would say meaningful decisions. I really like how the upgrade is done in this game. The card play is magnificent. You have to really manage your 6 slots because you cannot have crook hands on your hand. You can only have them installed, so you can activate them for temporary actions if you want to, if you wish. You have to make sure you max out on your movement with where you end your movement and which color match your crew cards, and where you want to terraform, and when you want to gather resources, and when you want to you know, settle survivors and all the things. So really this game delivers a lot in my opinion. I think it's not only it deserves to be published and funded, it deserves to a lot of success, because I know it's a small company, the specific one, but I believe that they really do care about the games, and this is a brilliant example of love into a very small box. And I'm sure that most players will enjoy it, not only me, but it will really make an impact on your library, and you'll have lots and lots of plays and fun with it, both for solo mode and multiplayer. So there you have it. Again, if you want to find out more about the game, visit the link in the description below to find out about the crowdfunding campaign and how you can help to fund the game, but also unlock, I'm sure, a lot of interesting stretch goals. So many thanks for watching. Until next time, you are watching Epitrapaizoume.